much for being here with me today. I'm Molly Kirshner. Can I tell you a joke?
Yes.
Yes.
What do you call a Gemini who goes camping?
What? I don't know.
Too intense. I'm proud of that one. I made it up myself.
Oh, it's great.
I earned that one.
Yeah.
Welcome to my world. I'm bipolar. I can remember being 4 years old on the playground, seething with rage, thinking, I don't think other people get this angry. From the beginning, adults described me as a passionate child. My mom claims that every so often my eyes would narrow to slits, and I'd say something like, I'm going to lock you in this bathroom and you're going to die like a dog in the dark, and my brother and I will have no mother in this world. My mom is the type of believer in science who's open to spiritual evidence, and she just figured I'd come to her fresh from a previous life. Now, throughout my childhood, I was depressed, but that could easily be explained by the fact that I had no friends, or more accurately, no stable friendships. Other kids bullied me. They called me ugly. When I came near, they would inch away as if I were a disgusting pile of chewed up and spit out hors d'oeuvres. Even the friends that I did have could easily be convinced to alienate me under pressure from someone more popular, like trendy Antonelli. We're dropping you. The next day. We're dropping you. Didn't you say that yesterday? Yeah. But this time, we're all dropping you. At 14, I had no self-esteem. But things were looking up. I got into a public magnet high school for academically gifted students and was hopeful that I could make some friends and reinvent myself. The first thing I did was radically upend my style. I started wearing a lot of makeup. Yeah. Low-cut tops. Second, guys, this is gonna be worth the wait. It's gonna look really good. Okay, yeah. I did make some wonderful friends, but for some reason, I still never felt like I fit in. I could tell that other people were not having the same experience of reality that I was. Okay, for example, coffee would have been illegal if it made everyone feel that good.
Coffee!
It's like I was made upside down. Right? You take drugs to get high. I have to take drugs not to get high. In fact, people often thought I was on drugs, even though I was always technically sober. When I finally did get around to trying ecstasy, really it was Molly. I was like,
Recreational drugs.
that's it? I felt like an extraterrestrial alien. It wasn't ADHD, although I did have a lot of trouble with things like impulse control and executive functioning. I was prescribed Adderall for a while, which made everything worse. It wasn't borderline personality disorder either, which was another incorrect diagnosis. My emotions were just too big for my body. In college, I'd had enough of being a mess and decided to get my shit together. And I did. Oh, yeah. I became a picture of punctuality and organization. I got straight A's. I stopped wearing makeup and stopped taking all medication, which I had decided was like makeup for the mind. I started meditating and adopted an extreme diet and exercise program, eventually cutting out all foods that weren't tofu pups, vegetables, or dried edamame beans. I would eat the same meal for breakfast, lunch, and dinner because I knew exactly how many calories it contained.
One tofu pup has 60 calories, plus 120 calories in a tablespoon of olive oil, plus 60 calories from assorted vegetables, plus 50 calories from 1/4 of an avocado, equals 290 calories.
I had gained a lot of weight from the medication, and I was determined to lose it as quickly as possible. I also lost my mind, but we'll get to that.
If you eat that extra soybean, you'll have to run another 1.8 miles to burn it all.
But I'm hungry.
Do you want to be hot and efficient, or a disgusting slob?
Hot and efficient. Hey, guys, I'm so sorry. I would love to finish this show, but this voice in my head says I need to exercise right now, or my life will collapse like American democracy. What I didn't know about anorexia is that once you cut out a lot of foods, your body can't tolerate them anymore, and you end up with long-term digestive problems. And even years after you recovered, there's this constant voice in your head that...
Hey, watch it. You need me. If I didn't keep track of your saturated fat intake, you'd be writing amorous poems in a ditch somewhere.
Every winter, I was depressed and misanthropic and full of self-loathing. I felt weak and tired all the time, and I couldn't really see the purpose of anything. But when spring came, it was like a Midsummer Night's Dream. Some mischievous fairy had slipped me some kind of potion that made me fall in love with myself and everyone and everything else. Overnight, I would go from being a hideous, worthless hermit to being a sizzling supermodel genius. The spring evening light is a powerful intoxicant. People with bipolar disorder are a lot like plants. There's just this intense phototropic response. It's a lot of fun. But the spring of my junior year, something changed. I went from tipsy to drunk fast. At first, it was just the usual seasonal lunacy. I was climbing trees and writing poems. A Kundalini awakening, I called it. I started an army of reverse polluters, vowing never to walk past a piece of trash without picking it up. On Facebook, I dared people to make me late for class with their cigarette butts. Yeah, okay, I was behaving a bit like a person on drugs, but everyone else at the college really was on drugs, so I fit right in and nobody noticed anything. Then I stopped sleeping. Thank goodness there was an easy solution to this. More coffee. In fact, there was free coffee at the student center, and I had a huge mason jar. Whenever I started to get tired during the day, I'd just fill up and swill down huge jar after huge jar of black coffee. My thoughts started racing. I got very into arcane things like lucid dreaming and astral projection. I read the Zohar and became convinced that I was Virginia Woolf in a past life. Later, I amended that theory and decided that I was actually from the Bible and that time was moving backwards. One night, I decided to switch bodies with my mother, who's 41 years older than I am, because she didn't have a good childhood and it just seemed like the right thing to do. I called her the next morning to see if she noticed anything was different. I didn't think to check the mirror. I also thought I'd figured out that my Roman classics professor, an ancient and brilliant man, was my spirit guide, and sent him cryptic poetry to indicate subtly that I had uncovered his true identity and was ready to be instructed in numinous truths. Understandably, he mistook these missives for a proposition and made the following suggestion. Thank you for your poem. Perhaps in June, when the class is over and we no longer have the same roles, you could send me several more. In my mind, we were on the exact same page. I wrote a paper for the class on Ovid's Metamorphoses that I thought was visionary and epiphanic. I talked about how the characters were actually interfacing with the audience. Very quickly, things got scary. By late April, my mind was going so fast that my speech couldn't keep up. I was too scared to even try to sleep because I was having severe delusions, imagining interdimensional aliens in my bedroom with less than admirable intentions. I decided I would leave 10% of my mind open to the possibility that I was not Virginia Woolf or from the Bible, that I was instead going insane. It was unlikely, but possible. In the meantime, I continued learning as much as I could about the occult and other abstruse traditions. One weekend, there was a used book vendor on campus. Do you have any books on mysticism? Sure, kid, $10. He gave me Fear and Trembling by Soren Kierkegaard. By this time, I was harboring the absolute certainty that there was no such thing as fixed identity, that the atoms and molecules in everyone were constantly trading places, and that I was an intergalactic traveler being swept through the ether from one horrifying universe into another. And I thought that all the underlined sections of this second-hand trembling book were personal admonitions directed toward me.
Abraham, the ethical expression.
He meant to murder Isaac.
The religious expression.
He meant to sacrifice Isaac. In this contradiction is the anxiety that can make a person sleeplessly. And yet, without this anxiety, Abraham is not who she is. The poet is not an apostle.
You don't understand. I'm just trying to help. I'm just trying to spread some light.
The devils only with the devil's power.
The devil?
You gotta remember that the true night of faith and is always absolute isolation is sectarian.
What?
This sectarianism is an attempt to leap away
From the narrow path of paradox.
and
Understand.
become a tragic hero
I
at
don't
a
get
cheap,
it.
cheap price. The tragic hero
expresses the universal and
sacrifices himself for
but
I'm trying my best.
It's like they have a private theater. Several of their good friends and comrades who represent the universe.
Beetles in the golden snuff box.
Can you say that in a different way?
I don't know if it's justice.
The Knight of Faith, on the contrary, is the paradox. Is the individual
Absolutely nothing.
absolute nothing but the individual?
So are you saying that
Connections, pretensions,
this
terrible
is
thing which things but cannot endure. He is not capable of performing the great deed and then plainly admitting it.
an act.
I cannot but
I'm
approve.
just trying to make the world
The mannequin thinks that by uniting with several other mannequins, he will be able to do it.
In the world of spirit, no swindling.
No swindling is tolerated.
Please forgive me!
Kane.
Exactly 1 month before my 21st birthday, I finally decided that the 10% of my mind I'd reserved for the insanity possibility was onto something. The way that I knew was that I lost my memory. I mean, I could recall basic autobiographical details to the extent that I believed in them, but I suddenly couldn't remember the mundane practical details of everyday life, such as the location of my classes or what my schedule was. I was in a play and had memorized my lines, but I forgot them all. Finally, I called my mom and I said, I think I need to get out of here. My mom came to get me. She remembers the car ride home well. I'm tired of being complicit. What society needs is to eliminate all possessive pronouns. If society had no possessive pronouns, it would end all global violence. Also, I think I'm going to shave my head and drop out of school because hair and school are privileges. And until we have equality, society will continue to suppress our souls past the point where... Stop talking about society, dear. It's a gateway. Without justice in society... Gateway. I went to see my old psychiatrist. You're clearly in an acute manic phase, and I'm going to prescribe lithium. Yeah, thanks, but I don't believe in that. It's against my philosophy. I could have you hospitalized. Give me the prescription. I spent 3 weeks away from school before returning, determined not to lose the entire semester with less than a month left. At the end of those 3 weeks, my mom came up to campus with me and stayed in a hotel nearby. I would go there to sleep, and she would make me spit out my water laughing with her imitations of the sleep hypnosis videos I listened to every night on YouTube. Hello. My name is Lorraine. Tonight you're going to get a good night's sleep. Sleep is important because it helps you feel better. Sometimes, when people don't get enough sleep, they might feel tired. Now, I'd like you to imagine that you are a very large cloud with nowhere to be. Nowhere to be at all. Up until then, I'd had perfect attendance in all my classes, and my professors were very understanding. Especially my spirit guide, who let me rewrite the psychedelic Ovid essay. That summer, my first book of poetry was published, and the following June, I graduated on time with a 3.84 GPA. After graduating, I moved to New York City, where my mom had once made a life for herself as a young artist. New York City was certainly not that haven in 2016. It was a viciously competitive economy with exorbitant rent prices. My mental health was deteriorating. I continued taking the lithium as prescribed, but was perpetually fatigued and depressed. I was writing, but it felt like a lot of work, whereas I was used to the poems writing themselves. I resented the medication and the ostensible choice I'd had to make between sanity and my creative fire. And things carried on that way for a couple of years. You see, lithium is a really powerful mood stabilizer. It's very effective at treating mania, but much less so for depression. And the usual antidepressants have been known to cause mania in people with bipolar disorder. I collaborated with different psychiatrists, but to little avail. In the meantime, I met my husband here. No, Kagard. I had never been in a proper romantic relationship before. Where I went to college, there were like 2 men, and 1/3 of them were gay, 1/3 had a girlfriend, and the other 7/8 just liked to take advantage of the gender ratio and sleep around. The story of how Kier and I met sounds so fabulous that if you saw it depicted in a movie, you'd write off the whole plotline as a formulaic cliche. It happened at the Bowery Poetry Club. At an open mic, I loved the poem that he read and ambushed him on the street to tell him. I wanted to give him my number. He wanted to ask for it. Neither of us did. Something told me he was unavailable. Turns out, he was doing a kind of Love Slaper's Lost Summer of Celibacy thing. We all know how that ends up. Then, 4 months later, the very night he resolved to start dating again, we met again by chance at a bizarre poetry/burlesque event. When he came in, there was 1 seat left in the house, and it was next to me. I let him read some of my poems, and we watched burlesque together. I had never seen a strip show before, and his commentary cracked me up. I mean, it's not very exciting, right? We know how it ends. More than 8.5 years later, I know how every day ends with him. And it's very exciting. At the end of the night, he asked for my number, and the next day he sent me a text message asking me out. It took me 3 days to respond. Not because I was playing it cool, but because I was frantically rewriting the message, adding and removing exclamation points. After meeting in Washington Square Park, we spent our first date walking all around the city, talking about our families and debating Nietzsche. After we had passed 6 hours in each other's company, discussed poetry and philosophy, kissed, annoyed each other, had dinner, made each other laugh, I finally invited him back up to my apartment on the pretext of vegan ice cream, which he took one bite of and spat out. We snuggled up together and talked about what most people talk about on first dates. I think this is all a simulation. Okay. No way. Why not? I mean, we had to come from somewhere. Well, for one thing, it's depressing. I'd rather believe we existed in a mad poet's dream. But if this is a simulation, it's pretty good. Hours passed and I got sleepier and sleepier. I knew I had to take the lithium before I fell asleep. I didn't know what would happen if I missed a dose. Finally, I just reached over to the nightstand, hoping to be discreet. When I saw he noticed, I worried maybe he would think I was some kind of a drug addict and blurted out, I have bipolar disorder. I have to take this lithium now. Well, he didn't yell fire or dial 911 or even try to leave, so I guess he's okay with the whole bipolar thing. Lots of things are bipolar. The earth is bipolar. Being in a long-term relationship, I've had to get comfortable using the ridiculous phrase, I'm very angry at you. And it's not your fault. Even on the medication, I still have a mood disorder that can induce states of euphoria, rage, or despair out of nowhere. That means I have to be skeptical of my emotions at all times and compare them to the stimulus to see if they're proportional or not. With these kinds of cognitive strategies, though, a lot of people with bipolar disorder are living beautiful lives. I can get away with a lot less lithium now. I just have to watch out for warning signs like messianic impulses and excessive ecological zeal. Thanks to a simple supplement regimen, I manage very well. However, the consensus with bipolar disorder is that you pretty much have to be on medication for your whole life. It's a brain issue, so it's not just the kind of thing you can work through in therapy. There's the high risk of another manic episode, which they say damages the brain. You know, there's this myth about mania and creativity, the myth of the mad genius. But the poems that I wrote while manic make absolutely no sense. In fact, nothing that I did while manic made any sense. I found out later that I kept inviting people to be on a non-existent panel. My theory is that the reason that some people have bipolar disorder is that other people suppress their emotions. So every time someone squashes down their frustration or lamentation or happiness or reverence, it doesn't just disappear. It goes straight to me or someone like me. And then when too many of these homeless emotions accumulate, then a person who would otherwise be sipping mini martinis at a company brunch meeting instead develops bipolar disorder. You know, and the world won't stop for that person. The world is there with its daily demands, its evil and its paperwork, its beauty and incongruity. A monk rides a motor scooter. A jerk falls in love with the piano tuner. Two black holes orbit each other in courtship. A man buys a gun so no one can say he's done nothing with his life. A woman lies trapped on an acupuncture table while a wasp buzzes above her. Thieves dance the whereabouts of nectar and patronize the artwork of orchids. Seeds exploit the wind's sense of purpose. A vine overtakes a tree. An echo bounces back to a whale. Civilization names the hurricanes it can do nothing to stop. Scientists debate what it means to be a virus. Politicians debate the resetting of our clocks. Mold grows in a windowless bathroom. A despot washes his face. Prayers are deployed as a last resort. That's gonna have to work. Or first line of defense. Atoms dash frantically through motionless objects. God complains that we only invoke him as someone to blame for beauty or pain, then doles out more beauty, more pain. On the first day of school, a child stands up and says, "I've never even met a real stranger." I'd like to try something. All right, can y'all see this basket? Okay. So each of these papers contains the name of an emotion or a description of an emotional experience that you may have been suppressing. And if you want to, you can come up to the stage and take one. And then if you'd be kind enough, you can feel this feeling with me today so I can take a break. Or at least feel less alone. And if you are confused about what you get, or you can't read my handwriting, it doesn't make any sense, you can ask me for clarification, or you can ask someone else, or just do the best you can with it. It's totally optional. Thank you all so much.